Hey, what's up, Jeremy, the online ads guy? This episode, one of the earlier podcasts that we did, and I was a guest on. So it was the first one I did where we spoke really about technical things and not just, marketing in general. And I definitely enjoyed it. Jeremy Rivera has been 19 years in the game, and I think because of his insights, we were able to have a much deeper conversation. And he doesn't do any PPC at all, and I don't do any SEO at all. So it was a good connection. I got my, misconceptions and stuff out of the way, and really wanted to hear his perspective on where SEO, GEO, AEO is going, which he was able to share a lot of it, and he has a lot of, to me, like original thoughts on where it's all going and making his predictions. And since then, I mean, he's helped me with some SEO stuff on YouTube as I'm starting my podcast, and he's starting to help me on a what I should be doing, what I should be looking out for. How do I leverage the most time? How do I leverage AI to, amplify the effort? I look forward to having him on our podcast as well. Anyway, give it a listen, and yeah, let me know what you think. See ya.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Rivera, your Unscripted SEO podcast host. I'm here with Jeremy Yang, founder of Digital Goliath. Let's have you give yourself an introduction, talking a little bit about some of your experience that's made you an expert in marketing.
100%, man. So thanks for having me, first of all. I've started Digital Goliath about 7 years ago out of like absolute necessity because, before that, I was working a few marketing places and things were just moving very, very slowly when it comes to marketing. And I was very impatient. And the guy who recognized that, and he said, you know what, dude, if you really want things to go fast, you got to go in the paid ad space. So I went into there when I followed a great mentor. And when she decided not to continue to build her agency, she worked out a deal with me. And yeah, so Digital Goliath was born about 7 years ago. Since then, I came from small business. I work with a lot of small businesses, and probably a third of my business is currently white labeling for massive agencies who missing that part of their gig. And then a lot of my own clients. Yeah. So we're managing currently about $450,000 a month in ad spend, which is respectable, you know? So it was just great to be here when, you reached out, I was like, yeah, I would love to talk SEO because I don't know enough about it. And I think it's always good to hear it from the other side.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that, I've been doing this for 19 years, personally, and ever from the beginning, there is a divide between SEO and SEM. What do you think maintains that divide? Why is it so often separate teams that don't communicate with each
Yeah.
other?
For me, I think that's a good question. I think for me, it's more on the ground intensity. With SEO, it's like the certain rhythm, right, to it. You do something, you test it. For ads, it's the intensity is a lot higher. Like when your clients are doing ads, the stakes I feel is higher. They're more demanding. You have to be like hovering around the computer kind of thing. Like things go wrong and things has to be fixed straight away. Right. And I feel like another divide, and I don't really treat it as a divide. Another reason is I feel like Google will give you all the information when it comes to ads. They want you to spend, they want you to do, follow their whatever. And I know a lot of it is BS. It's all made up because they own the whole house and they try to make each other bid against each other, right? Like any intelligent person will see that, but at least they're telling you like where you're ranking, top, absolute top. What are you doing wrong? How much? Like they used to give a lot more keyword data around that. You want to
Yeah.
search for something, go. It's right here. The platform tells you the spreading bits. With SEO, I feel like you guys have a harder in the aspect where you guys are always like listening to what's out there, what's coming up, like what's testing. You try to help each other out like a community kind of thing. Whereas paid ads is just like guns for hire. Like we're gonna get this money, we're gonna get this done. So that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
That is true. I have a friend, she's in the paid ad space, and we were just kind of riffing about, oh, hey, she wants to do, conversations about the role of AI in ads as a
Yeah.
podcast series.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, I'd love to talk to more ads people, but a lot of the people I know won't talk to me because they kind of
Yeah.
want to keep their secrets safe,
Really?
Yeah, well, because
Weird.
it makes sense. We were kind of
Yeah,
talking it through of like, hey, if you're in the digital ad space and you know something, you want to get paid for that,
sure.
and that's
Yeah,
like, and and you can quickly apply it with somebody's budget
yeah,
versus with SEO, you have to prove it out. You have to have really solid examples of,
yeah.
okay, I did X, Y, and Z with this client over this amount of time and came out with this output.
Yeah.
And, for a long time in the SEO space, publishing what you're working on was like the number one way to get clients.
Hmm.
So like the
Yeah.
proof in the pudding versus somebody in the ad space, well, they're going to run ads to get more people to
Instant.
sell ads too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there is kind of that
From my
perspective.
experience, so that's interesting because from my experience, like from the ads people that I've dealt with and the people in my cohort, they can't wait to give it away because it's like they try to create courses, they try to create, YouTube content. It's like because I feel like people's gonna figure out anyway. Because ads, there's Meta Ads Library, Google Transparency Center, like the word and keyword, and from my experience, like they can't wait to give it away. So it's so interesting listening from your side of town. Yeah, yeah,
I'm curious. I personally have dipped into, small campaigns here and there for clients who, they don't have that much budget or they don't want to hire a separate ads person. And can I please set it up, or can you check out my system? And,
yeah.
often I'll audit and be like, this is terrible. Who set this up? They're like, Google set it up for me.
Google set it
Like,
up. Yeah, yeah,
well, that's the fox guarding the hen house right there.
yes, yeah.
What are some of the most egregious setup errors that you've seen coming into somebody's ads account that you've fixed and turned things around for them?
So if Google setting up, so there's two different types of Google support in my eyes, right? Like there's the offshore ones where they have agenda to switch everything to auto recommendation. So it doesn't matter how they get you on the call, eventually the agenda will come up. I say, oh, why don't you go here for a little while? What about this box? You want to tick this box? It's like, no, dude, I don't want to tick that box. I know what that box does. If a client, if that's being set up, I think that that's going to have a lot of problems because they have a script and agenda. They're not looking at your ad account at all. So they're ticking boxes so they can quickly, move on. But the onshore ones, it only comes to you when you start spending a lot of money. So when you're at a certain amount and they don't care anything about auto recommendation, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They kind of know your business and they kind of know the industry so they can bring you stats, etc. Like general stats, not competitor stats, but general stats
Yeah.
about, how the bids are. But to answer your question, I think when they cram everything in one campaign, when they try to do it easy, it's so nuanced. There's every single knob that's in there. There's a
Yeah.
YouTube video on you should turn it on. There's a YouTube on why you shouldn't turn it on. So it's like so situational and you can't just go and follow a script. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You have to do it slowly and really learn it, I think. So there's too many things to mention. Yeah.
One thing that I would do, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me if it's still best practice, is to look to split your ad groups down to much smaller sets of keywords and have at least 3 ads for each of those small ad groups. Is that somewhere around best practice, or what is some of the best
Yeah.
setup advice for businesses these days?
I respect that setup. I do. But Google has favoring us moving on from that. So it's more theme based. So you know how back in the days was exact match, phrase match, broad match, right? So now everything is broad-ish. Doesn't matter how you set it, right? So if you like, just say you type in something to do with a specific service, right? Now competitor brands can sneak in, whereas that's never happened before, just because they do that service as well, right? So
Yeah.
how crazy is that? Because before you used to have to type in like Jeremy Rivera SEO for the search to show up, but now if it goes SEO, your local town, like Jeremy stuff could come up too, and they could trigger their ads. So how crazy is that? So exact match is no longer exact match. So as you probably know about Performance Max, you probably see a lot of that. That's where everything is pushing towards. The good thing that Google's done recently is it's allowing negative lists again for Performance Max. Before it wasn't allowed, so it was complete black box for about a year and a half.
Huh.
Oh, it's crazy, crazy. He's just putting money in, and you have no idea. But to answer your question, I probably wouldn't segment it down like that granular level anymore. But if you do have e-commerce accounts, that's when you treat the campaign level like the old ad group level. Break down each ROAS group. So do it based on
Yeah.
ROAS. Don't base it on like product name or anything. Based on ROAS levels, and then
Ah,
that way you can,
okay.
because it's ROAS game, right? So
Yeah.
you're telling the machine to learn, you want to convert at 4x, right? So if you have one product line that has 1.2x and 8x acceptable, that's not going to work because it's too scattered. Or if averages will kill you. So you got to go break it down to ROAS level. So that's the e-commerce. I think there's a game around splitting. In terms of services businesses, depends how much money they have. If they have a good amount of budget, I will still go search. If they don't, you probably have to rely on PMax for a while.
What's the reality around using the display ad network within Google these days? Because whenever I would approach campaigns for my clients, mostly because I was coming from the SEO side, I almost always turned that off and didn't push towards the display ad
Yeah.
systems. Um, what is the best practices when you make that recommendation to combine both specific keyword searches and the display ad network augmenting?
Yeah.
And is that based off of the return on investment? Is that based off of, the profit margin that you're looking for that product or service? Or is
Yes.
it more about the nature of what it is that you're selling, where you expect your customer to potentially be browsing a whole bunch of different sites that you might catch their attention?
Yeah. So for display ads, since I started 7 years ago, I only believe display ads for remarketing.
Okay.
So I only believe it's because there's too many spammy sites. So back then there was a link where you can exclude all like spammy sites, right? Now you can still do it, but it's that Google has make you jump through many hoops. And people still put out these 20,000 website links so you can quickly exclude and all that. But there's a trick to it. So it's not an instant button anymore. And you definitely want to exclude those sites because it's spammy, they're useless. So definitely this display is remarketing only. Best practice is have an offer on display, just a bit like social media ads, have an offer on there, like to get them back or to, some type of percentage off, cart abandonment. In terms of audience, I think people are too focused on, overlapping keywords with, this and that audience. The stuff doesn't work. It all gets expanded. So all you're doing is giving Google an initial signal, right? And then Google can do whatever it wants, same as Meta these days. So display, and I think last point I would make is that when we're doing Google ads, what you want to do is you want to hit display, you want to hit YouTube, right? And you want to hit the discovery feed, but with very little money because the diminishing returns is very early on those platforms, if that makes sense. So you should hit it because
Yes.
people will be visible. Oh, cool, there's a guy on video again. Oh, okay, there's a guy on discovery feed. Oh, I see him on a news site. Okay, so he must be doing pretty well. But all you're doing is like $10, $20 display marketing, remarketing. I think there's value in that for sure. Yeah.
Um, what's the current um economy like when it comes to choosing which ad platform to pursue? Um, there's Meta,
Yep.
there's Google, Bing, Yahoo, they have their ad platform.
Yep.
Um, uh,
TikTok.
there may be others.
Yeah.
So how do you go about talking through with the client which of those platforms to use and why?
So, in terms of platforms, what I do is, just say you're a client, I'm talking to you, right? And then what I'll look at is how good are you on video, right? What assets have you got? What power, what resources have you got to continually produce assets? Right. Let's just say you're a service business or e-commerce business, because Meta is about burnout. So you got to refuel and replenish the tank. So we've got to look at that, right? So just say that you are a lawyer business, okay, and you don't want to be in front of camera, okay. You don't have anyone in your office who wants to be in front of camera. Facebook, Instagram is useless to you, because you're probably already anti it. So I'm hard on search, going hardcore on search, probably 80% Google. Once that gets working, then 20% on Bing, right? So Bing's search volume, I know I've watched your podcast, you're glad that Bing's coming back into the game and all that. But there on the ads, dude, it's so little, like so little
Yeah.
interest. And then the thing with the client is that you still got to set up all the tagging, tracking, everything else, right? And the reporting. So that's definitely that. In terms of just say you have something a bit more novel, right? And you kind of like you don't mind promoting it, or you don't mind getting some UGC stuff, then a lot of that money is going to go on Facebook, Instagram.
Okay, that makes sense because um, so having if you it's basically your business marketing model and how much fuel you're willing to pour into
Fuels
the
are
fire.
great. Yeah, fuels are
Um,
great. Yeah. So I call it how many bullets you got in the chamber. Right. So you know what I mean? Like if you go, oh, let's do this for 3 months, and then you got like 4 assets. I'm like, where'd you get these 4 assets? They go, we shot it a year ago. And the guy's gone
yeah,
now. I said, oh, well, I don't know if you're gonna last the 3 months, Yeah.
that definitely makes sense. What are when it comes to the service business side, um, what are some of the unique services that you've configured ads for that kind of stood out from your normal deployment? Had some sort of kink or, special feature that you had to adjust your campaign to address?
Um, Bubblegum Casting is a huge children's modeling agency in Australia. It's the biggest in Australia. I was lucky to get that, was through a referral. I think that is a perfect example, and obviously this is unscripted. I didn't think about this before. So it's the perfect example of being fluid with the distribution of the budget between Google and Meta. I think that's because when they're doing, so search is a staple, right? People go, well, how to get my kids into modeling or modeling photo shoots or whatever, right? And that's on the search side, the bottom funnel, they're ready to go. But then there's the meta side where you're showing proof of people who's successful in the modeling in the past, which is massive. Right?
Yeah.
So that kind of like, and when they have their draws and their like lead magnets, their competitions, their model searches, that's all demand gen on the meta side. Right. So that kind of have to move around. When it comes to service businesses, you really want to look for things that's a bit weird. So you don't want to just look for the chiros and the physios and the lawyers, because that's very competitive. It's $30 a click. People always get a heart attack when they hear it. Tow tribe,
Yeah.
$200 a click, credit cards, $150 a click. There's $150 a job, it's $150 a click. Emergency plumbing. So yeah, really hard. So if actually, you know what? I would even love to talk to you, like just ask you how you deal with the smaller businesses, because I know you came from a huge branding industry. I'm like always fascinated that how is SEO going to survive? Because people not waiting around for 6 to 9 months. Even if they tell you they will wait for 6 to 9 months, they're gonna get, antsy after like 2 3 months. They say, well, pay this money, I'm not seeing anything yet.
Yeah, it is hard to do SEO campaigns for small businesses because there is a squeeze point of, how much they're willing to invest in the content and invest in the process, building links.
Yes.
Um, Usually the upside, the difference, the flip is that if you run out of ad budget, your campaign's over. But
Yeah,
with SEO,
correct.
you're building appreciable assets that are continuing to
Yeah.
increase over time. So, there does come. usually, it's about getting the momentum going so that
Yeah.
that small business, you can start increasing the number of calls and leads that they're getting, taking those actionable steps, supporting their content and pushing them, and augmenting their other marketing content at the same time. Work with the ads guys so
Yes,
that
for sure. Yeah.
if you guys have an expensive keyword that you can't afford to bid on, you
Yeah.
can hit that with organic content,
That's so good.
sometimes a
Yeah.
little bit easier with a much smaller investment that's going to last much longer.
Yeah.
So it's that trade-off of, yes, ads, that starts, but then when you run out of that ad budget, you're not
Yeah.
advertising anymore. So,
No.
but
No.
with SEO, it does have this upscale effect. So it is a hard place to be as a consultant, as an agency, and sometimes you get squeezed out on the margins, and that's why as a freelancer or as an agency, there is a bit of a revolving door as you move from
Yeah.
client to client.
Yeah.
Or I often do smaller consultation type
Yes.
freelancing where I'm advising, you should be doing this and this and this for
Yeah.
SEO, tackle this, and then their team is handling it
Like a roadmap.
versus,
Like you give them a roadmap about the
yes,
expertise. Because I know you are a huge pro in like local link building stuff, right? Like the community
yes, definitely.
stuff. Yeah, that's massive. And then you also have you guys, especially in SEO space, have to combat the cowboys who, just sprouts any type of crap to get. People got kids to feed, I guess, and they'll make up whatever they make up to. I mean, I know me and you, we both got kids to feed as well, but like they'll make up whatever to get the gig. Um, and so it does sound like me and you in the same boat when it comes to filtering our clients. So if there's too much education at the start, they've never done it before, they have very small budget, very difficult to
Yeah.
play that game. Yeah.
Something that is a hard lesson to learn for freelancers, for marketers, is that, um, and Dave Goulis, one of my previous guests, he said, not every client is worth acquiring.
Mm,
Like,
for
it
sure.
may sound good on paper, but oh, hey, I've got another client. Well, you know what? This client is going to take 3 to 4 times as much attention. The potential is, very slim. There could be those difficulties, having more discretion, and setting yourself up as a freelancer or setting yourself up within your agency. I know there's a number of, not even just the dodgy folk. Yeah, there's the cowboys, but there's also the agencies who overpromise, and
Yeah.
they're going to deliver the same thing regardless,
Yep.
and they're expecting you to burn out within 6 months, and then they've got a sales guy flogging it, and they get another person.
Yeah.
So
That's a game. Tough
that's a
game.
hard thing to deal with too. It's a tough game.
Yeah,
Um,
it's tough game, and the way you guys have to sell, like, because it's on page, off page, link building, and then one guy sometimes one person favors one side of SEO because that's what all they got is hammer, so everything looks like a nail, right? They're like, well, let's attack
yes,
this, and then there's someone who's not really into the SEO game, like most people aren't, and they kind of expect everything to be finished. They go, oh, aren't you link building too? Aren't you working on the website to do that? They say, oh no, that's not our thing, and they kind of gets friction from there. Yeah,
that's definitely true, and it reminds me of a quote from my friend Matt Brooks of Esoteric. He says, "ChatGPT is your most popular but least knowledgeable customer support representative."
yeah, okay,
And and
that's
I
good.
say that to kind of bring up the topic of one half of the AI picture, which is, hey, there's now AI overviews. Their
Yes,
ChatGPT just released internal ads as a platform.
yes,
Have you had a chance to play around with that? Is that
yeah.
on the horizon? Are you excited or dreading adding another platform to the mix? Or what are your thoughts on that side of the AI picture?
I was very excited, right? But then it's like I was very excited because I felt like I was really positioned well to capture that big jump or whatever, right? But as I'm more going through the LinkedIn, feels like there's thousands people just like me who can't wait to, at the service. And the way that's the first set of ads that came out like 2 weeks ago, that started beta testing was it's not very promising the way it looks. It's like they were at the bottom of the scroll. Premium people don't have it. CPMs are 60 to 80. It's just not very exciting. Like, it doesn't look like they want to make it like a nuanced platform like Google ads or Facebook ads, because they're the parents of
Mm.
the ads world, right? Like
Yeah,
Pinterest and
yeah,
everything else is just a cut down version of that. It feels like
yeah,
the
definitely.
mode is like ChatGPT just wants like, tell me what you want. Okay, all right, cool. Well, we'll place it and then, leave it with us. That's the feeling I'm getting. So when are you
Yeah,
doing that? I mean, and they're testing with businesses that's gonna spend 1 million plus, right? At the
right.
moment. So it's like, whoa, what about the rest of us? There's no way to sneak that in or whatever. And I know Google AI overviews, they try to, put their game around there as well, because they lost a lot of money from, having to reshuffle. So the question is also, I'm interested in is how much inquiry are you getting, but like how much FOMO are you feeling on the market these days? Because they're like, man, I need to be on this overview crap, right? This is the Wild
Yeah.
Wild West again. Yeah.
It is very unsettled. There was a period, I'd say, from August until December, it felt really hard to be in SEO. Um, Everything was like, once again, like SEO is dead again.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, oh, AI overviews is here and, people aren't using it. And, you got GPT, Claude, everybody's on these platforms and, search has totally changed. Is it going to be AI SEO, GEO, AI?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's this alphabet soup moment
Yeah.
of all of these spammers trying
Yeah.
to attention grab of SEO is dead. You got to do this
Yeah.
instead.
Yeah.
But the good news is around December, people like CEOs seem to start waking up of, you know what? All of these hype, LinkedIn profile people, um, you know, we still need a foundation in SEO. We just need our SEO to also address how to show up
Correct.
in basic visibility terms. No, like there for publisher sites, it is dire. There's 25 to 40%
Mm.
traffic loss on publisher sites. Working with a radio station network, even with massive improvements in their SEO campaign, they're still seeing Google decrease the amount of traffic that they're sending over. So that's on top of what happened, 2 to 3 years ago of the helpful content update,
Mm.
which was supposed to address spam, but largely just hit a bunch of content producers and publishers in different niches. So you have that double whammy effect, knocking down a bunch of industries.
Yep.
And then you get AI overviews over everything, starting to replace, rich snippets.
Mm.
There's now more of a balance of it's no longer, hey, we need to abandon SEO for AI,
Yeah.
because people are figuring out, that there's just not there yet. Like there's a lot of promise in these
Yeah.
tools and a lot
Yep.
of, there's a lot of fuel there, and there are some people making out like bandits, but for the most part,
Yeah.
like trying to quantify, how visible is even your brand is a really difficult task. With
Yeah.
my last interview with Benas, he was saying, we were talking about how out of 100 searches, you redo the same search 100
Yeah.
times,
Yeah.
you only get the same answer about 20% of that time. The
So
other
what's a tool?
80% of the time, it's giving you different
Yeah.
answers. So if you're a brand and you're trying to show up in that search, maybe you'd be satisfied with, well, we've done the work and you'll show up 20% of the time
Yeah. Yeah. But there's no tool though,
versus
right?
zero.
Is there like a tool? Because Ahrefs and what SEMrush has always been like the stables. Good luck to them. I mean, they built it that way, and there's other ones. But what's a tool for AI right now? There's so many. It's divergent.
the problem is really that there is there are so many, and this is going to become it, it's like what is that principle in science that to observe something is to change it, and we have that problem with
Oh,
this.
that's
So
interesting.
so,
Yeah.
so what happened for a minute, this is related. I'll come back to your direct
Yeah. Yeah.
question. What happened for a minute was that Google changed its platform, and search result tools were no longer able to change the modifier to see the first 100
I remember
results.
that. I remember that day.
The
That was like
outcome,
reckoning. Yeah.
it was frightening. The outcome of it was that suddenly the level of impressions
Yes.
dropped by 20% across the board.
Yeah.
The reality, though, after a month or three, we realized that wasn't real traffic. Those impressions were search bots
Uh,
from
yeah.
SEO tools
Yeah.
scraping results. So the
Yes.
loss
Yes.
of that 20% had
Yes.
zero impact on clicks across the board. So that is a real world statement of observing something changes the nature of it. So going to have that same moment with the attempt to monitor or predict or
Mm,
come out with some sort of measurement,
yeah.
because you're going to have these third party tools
Yes.
buying GPT accounts, putting in queries to try to measure how
Yeah.
visible is it, which then contaminates the pool of genuine interest. How many people genuinely are asking about it, and
Mm,
how much is the LLM then adding to its database of information versus these tools that are there's a very different influx. If LLMs learn and they they add to their database based off of the queries that they're given. If it's
yes.
a genuine human pool putting in queries, that's going to be one
Different
process.
story.
But if
Yeah.
then we add in machine tools directed at scale by companies to try to measure these brands, then that's going to change the way that the LLMs learn and add to their knowledge pool and database about it.
Yeah.
So it's not clear at this point how robust the LLM functionality is going to be towards that reality
Yeah.
of, hey, there's tons of programs now inputting queries. How much is that going to impact the output of an LLM? And how much do they want it to impact that output? Because they might not be able to tell the difference between a genuine
Yes.
GPT user and a GPT user that's fed by an API that's intentionally being set up just to fuel these tools.
Yeah.
So it's a very murky space. There's I don't know, a
I never had
hundred
it
or
explained to me that
different
way. So
tools.
that's really interesting. I never had it explained to me that way. But if you look at the SEO or ads game or whatever, like there has to be, when we're working for bigger businesses, there has to be an authoritative report, right? People are like, well, based on this, your ranking's gone up by 6 points or whatever.
Yep,
So would you guys especially still have to come up with that? Say, hey,
we
we're
still have
based
to.
on
Yeah,
this
we do.
tool. Yeah. So, but is
Yeah.
everyone trying to create that tool?
Yeah, everybody's creating those tools. I know Ahrefs has some sort of metric like that. SEMrush folded it in.
Yeah.
SE Rankings has one.
Yeah.
I know Noah Toa, my friend Michael Buckby made
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I have three friends, CEO friends,
Okay,
who have
trying to get the
made some
game.
sort of
Yeah,
AI visibility tool, either vibe coded or actually
yeah,
paid for.
yeah,
Some are legit,
yeah.
and trying to fold in other things. It's this weird moment of,
It is a
you know,
weird moment. You're right. It's a very weird moment right now for this. I still think I put the notes here as you were talking about as well. I think that CEOs should recognize that there has to be essential. SEO is essential game now. It's not even optional
yes,
anymore, right? They should come
yes,
up to that. It goes, well, this person, whoever we get, has to be able to be the scope of AEO, SEO. They can't be working in silos. He's got to be a
right,
communicator, right? And he should
yeah,
be talking to my ads people or whatever, and then try to figure this whole thing out together. Because one of the things
yeah,
I have firm belief in is You know how people always try to figure out the customer journey, like with all these tools and all these fancy tools? I've never believed in that because I don't think it's accurate. I think we should look at it, everything as a blended ROAS, like how much we spend on ads altogether. What about this email things like, and then just work out, did it elevate or didn't it elevate? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's true. It does have to come down to better integration of an SEO rule across it because, if you need materials to kick off a meta ad campaign, if you're only, running that ad for like 3 weeks and then that video is burnt,
Yeah.
then that's a huge expense. But if I had, if I was in that position, I'd move that video over and put it into a blog post.
That's it.
And then I, talk to the email person and have them feature that video over
Yes.
here and make it a much
Holistic.
more
Yeah.
robust
Yeah.
system that isn't so much, depleting or, disposable ad,
Yes.
ad
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
You can repurpose, reuse it, refold it, combine those videos together.
Yeah.
There's so many clever things that you could do with that if you were positioned well, had somebody positioned with that knowledge of
Yeah.
how to, take that asset and reuse it somewhere else,
Yeah. And in terms of content, you're big on that as well? Because I think you do the content still, you do still the old school keyword research, find the gaps, little bit of keyword cramming, you
Actually,
still do a bit of that?
I've I do I have 2 processes now. So, one process is along those lines of, like, hey, I made a tool on SEOarcade.com of, like, you put in your primary query, it looks at the top 10 ranking URLs for that keyword,
Yeah.
then looks at the top 100 keywords for those pages and gives you a cluster of overlapping and then sorts it by how many of those pages ranked for the same phrase, which
Yeah.
is an interesting way to kind of define, hey, this is how Google understands it. Now, there's positives and negatives to that. There's positives of knowing what's what are the odd ducks, like, what are
The
the
lane,
non sequiturs,
the open
what
lane,
are the
right?
things that don't fit that
Yeah.
Google thinks are the same thing. That's
Yeah.
great to hand
Yeah.
over to an ad person because then you can add that to the negative list.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
At the same time,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
great because you can
Yeah.
sort and see, oh, you know what, all 10 of these pages, they say, Cookville sunrooms. They don't
Yeah.
talk about sunroom additions.
Yes. Yeah.
There, it's not addition services, it's not renovations. Like, you can sort out and see, okay, well, this is how these sites co-rank for this, and that's probably how Google best understands it. So that's
Yeah.
one approach.
Yeah.
The other side is this: having genuine conversation with another person in the industry or niche and doing an interview with an
Yeah.
expert,
Yeah.
or having two experts talk about it.
Yeah.
Whatever they talk about, if you
Yeah.
then turn that over to Claude and say, what are
Yeah.
the major themes
Yes.
of, then you can extract keyword intent. You can extract topics, challenges, friction points. So the other side is turning it on its head. Like, one is going for the data, the other is trying to get the data out of hooking up and having a
Yeah.
subject matter expert talk to another subject matter expert. Like, if
Cool.
you wanted
Yeah.
to know what was going on in SEO right now,
Yeah.
um, have an interview between two SEOers going at it.
Yeah.
They're going to talk on the hot
Oh,
button issues. They're going to talk about the friction points. If
yeah.
you want to know about, what's happening in the renovation space, I was at my karate dojo and I was listening to two plumbers sitting next to
Yeah.
each other,
Yeah.
and they were talking about their business. And I
Yeah.
learned so much about, you know, uh, using this tile and avoiding mold and,
Yeah.
what
Right.
challenges they face. Like, the the expert to expert conversation
Yes.
is the other side of it, where you can
Yeah.
get so much value
Yeah.
and learn so much more about the targeting versus just the raw number and volume side. If you marry those two processes, then you're going to be sitting pretty.
But that's interesting. But the second part, the talking part, I mean, having a genuine organic coming out of that, like I'm just thinking commercially, that's harder to convince a client, right? That's harder to orchestrate.
It's a little harder to orchestrate, but you can achieve it in a couple of different ways. It doesn't have to be external. It can be an internal conversation where
Yes.
you
Yeah.
arrange and say, "Hey, I need the C-suite person in charge of this aspect. I need to interview the sales guy. For one of my clients, they do precast walls. I just interviewed the guy that does the installation process
Mm.
and talked to him. How does this actually work when you
It's so
call up to the
interesting.
site?
Yep.
How does this lay out? Like on the ground, you've got these massive walls. What'd you start with? Oh, well, we need this much space. The trucks pull in. We put in the piers. We have them measure 3 times. And out of that was a document. I turned it into a transcript.
Yes.
Then I turned that into 3 or 4 articles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just focused on, hey, here's how we do installations. The next was talking about, we talked about materials and how important it is to measure 3 times
Mm.
and setting up the site before, that type of information is the type of things that, oh, hey, we need this permit, and this permit from the city. I'm like, you didn't say that anywhere on your site, but
Yes.
somebody thinking about putting these massive walls around their data center or around their HOA, they're going to have these questions. They're going to be Googling that.
Yeah. It's
You
gonna come
put
out.
that as content out there. So
Yeah.
it can be an internal conversation. I've
That's very good.
also
I'm
spun up a
learning.
white legal service to
I'm learning
um
a lot from
to
this.
make
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Yeah.
to actually set up a podcast. Like I did one for a commercial restaurant space. I had
Yep.
2 chefs talk to each other about entrepreneurship and launching new restaurants because they were just doing articles about, how to change your fry oil,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's going to go to a line cook who just wants to know how to change it. What
And
you
that's
need to
they're
have
done.
is a
Yeah.
conversation between 2 entrepreneurs about smart purchasing decisions for
Yes.
their restaurant.
Yes.
That's the conversation. Those
That's
are the
commercial
people making the
viable.
purchase.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
commercially viable. There's people with money reading that stuff, right? And now it's like things are
exactly.
moving down the line. Yeah, it's very smart. I think got to go there, man. Like I haven't touched it, eh? But yeah, it's really, really smart way of doing it. Yeah, cool. Very interesting, man. Very knowledgeable on that topic. We thought about this a lot.
I have. I
Yeah.
kind of flip the interview onto myself, but
No,
to
no, no,
kind of
it's
come.
good. I'm really interested in also because I've been writing articles about just my own thoughts, not like research or keyword, whatever. And one of the things that always fascinated me was about people go AI writing for AI, right? So now you're
Yeah.
just writing stuff for AI, and then where's it go? Like, where's the human thing? Because people want to find bullet points, little snippets, a quick FAQs. Like that's the game now, right? And then what's your view on that?
My view is it's a human bot sandwich. All right. So you at the
Yes.
end of
Oh,
the
yeah,
day,
yeah,
bots don't have money.
yeah,
Bots don't buy anything, right?
yeah,
So you
yeah,
still have a seller and have a buyer. You got 2 humans, but in between you have layers of bots. It could be 1, 2, or 3, or maybe 4 layers because you've got,
yeah,
the buyer uses ChatGPT.
yes,
ChatGPT uses Google. Google
yes,
uses bots to
yeah,
access the website. The website is partially made by LLM content
yes,
by the marketing company.
yeah,
And so uh, you have this sandwich of stuff. But remember that each of those bots, Google and ChatGPT, are designed with rules about content that they want you to make content for humans,
yeah,
not
yeah,
for bots. So
yeah,
think about Google, they have UX, UI rules,
yes,
they have content writing rules, an algorithm that rewards, expertise, experience, authority, trust. So the content that is rewarded that shows up that marketers and LLM tools are designed to write. Like look at why Claude is better than GPT. It's because it writes more naturally and
uh,
writes better and more thoroughly based off of the sources than GPT's hackneyed writing. And so, even though there are bots in
yeah,
between,
yeah,
they are rewarded for the more human sounding and the more human relatable the content can be. So yes, there is a downside to overusing LLMs, and there will be an Ouroboros effect of the snake eating its own tail
Yeah,
at
yeah,
some point. It's
yeah,
already happening to a certain degree,
yeah,
but the reality is that in the human bot sandwich, the bots are still incentivized to reward content that's made for humans.
yeah.
And so that's why my default to like creating systems around genuine conversations,
Yes,
creating
yeah,
systems based off of podcasts, creating uh, systems based off of interviews, um, and subject matter expertise cannot come out of LLM tools.
yeah. Okay,
You can
got you.
get baseline information, but
Yes,
it's always a general pool, and
yes.
you have to enrich it to make it unique.
Yeah, got you, got you. Yeah, no, I didn't even have a follow up there. It's just very, very interesting the way you are like the way you broke it down. And that's to go back to the first thing you said, which was like bots don't have money to spend. Do you know what I mean? Like if you want something to happen, like you still gotta make sure it works for the last person who's gonna be in the chain. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that later. Yeah, I have to think about that one later. Yeah, cool, amazing. Yeah, you got all my
As kind
questions
of
answered.
wrap up the interview, last question is, what are you preparing for in the next 6 months to a year, as you try to go to market, as you work with your clients? What are you thinking about that horizon? How are you future proofing campaigns, or, battening down the hatches, improving processes as we live in
Yeah.
unprecedented times?
For sure. I mean, I haven't thought about this fully, but I feel like in the last 6 months, what I've been doing is bolstering up my playbook. Like using AI is so it's a wide variety available now, right? Just like you know how you do a little bit ads when people can't afford it. So we
Mhm.
use what we know to do the little bit of SEO stuff for them. Like I say, hey, you know, if you wanted to, we can help you do some research around keywords about what to write, for example, right? Which we've never done before. And things around tracking, things around competitor analysis, things around if you want to build a YouTube clip, now we've got AI, we can analyze someone else's YouTube channel, right? And
Mm.
figure out exactly like what is it they're making, how are they making it, whatever. So if you want to be one of the big boys, this is probably you could start trying something like this. So all these services, all these playbooks, it really helps because if you look at 7 years ago, all it was just button clicking, spamming. I call it playing Street Fighter, right? Oh, you know, build a campaign like this for four ads and add 10% every day. Like, how'd you know it was 10%? How'd you know it wasn't 12%? Do you know what I mean? So, you know, it's just algorithm whisperers. That's what I call them. Like, you're not working on Facebook. How do you know it was 10%? But I guess they did whatever they did. But now we've completely moved away from that model. No one's talking like that anymore. Right. So now I'm just bolstering my playbook to make sure that the clients are getting more out of the same engagement. So that way, and for me, I am not a somebody who hides behind emails. I want to be there, like talking to them about stuff. And then that differentiates me. And then when they see that, it's harder to lose the churn. The churn is very hard. So becomes a lot less churn. That's my differentiator, I guess. And that's why I'm trying to double down on that. So yeah,
Fantastic. Well, give a shout out again to your company
sure.
and anything that's coming out, as we kind of wrap up here.
Yeah, sure thing. So Jeremy, Digital Goliath Marketing, digitalgoliath.com.au is the website. And currently I'm just, you know, talking to people. So if you have podcasts to do with small business, marketing in general, would love to be more part of that. Yeah, that's the go. Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for your time.
Cool. Cheers.